Adobe Illustrator, of course, will let you create an Adobe PDF out of your artwork. And here's where Windows and Mac are a little different. In both platforms, you can create a PDF by doing a Save As. That is, going to the File menu and choosing Save As, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But only in Windows can you create a PDF by printing. That is, you can print to a PDF from the regular print dialog box. You could do that if you have Adobe Acrobat installed. Not the free Adobe Reader, but the full-blown Adobe Acrobat. As for why would you want to do that, let's hold off on that. I'll show you a little bit. You can open up Tour Add from the Chapter 9 folder of the project files. And before we actually go and create the PDF, I just want to draw your attention to the actual file size here. I'm going to go and switch into Windows Explorer for a moment. If you're on the Mac, you can go into the Finder. And you see here this Tour Add is about 8.5 megs. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So to save as, you can use the shortcut Control-Shift-S in Windows or Command-Shift-S on the Mac, or you could go up to the File menu and come down here and do a Save As. And I'm going to leave this in the Chapter 9 folder. And I'm going to go over here where it says Save as Type, and I'm going to switch to Adobe PDF. And keeping the same name is just fine, so I'll click Save. And now it's going to bring up this dialog box, and we have a number of options here. I'm not going to bring you through every single one, but I just want to call your attention to the important ones here. This here, preserve Illustrator editing capabilities. That means that you can take this PDF, send it to someone, and if they have Illustrator, they can actually open up the PDF and edit it. So that way, if they have the PDF but not the actual AI file, they're good to go. Or you also, maybe you can do a backup or something. If there's page thumbnails, you can embed them. It simply means that when you're in Acrobat, the thumbnails will appear a little faster, but that also adds to the file size. Optimize for fast web view means that if you're going to put this PDF up on the web and someone will actually view the PDF in a web browser, that way, if you have more than one page, the first pages will actually start downloading. They'll be able to read them before the entire document is downloaded. So that's generally helpful if it's a very long document. View PDF after saving does exactly what it says. And do you want the layers in Illustrator to translate to layers in the PDF itself? Let's go over here to compression. This is a thing that you would do if file size is an issue. Now, when you're looking at this dialog box just looks like an overwhelming mess, but it really isn't, because it's the same thing that's happening 3 different times. And you can see here, it's asking us, what do we want to do with color bitmap images? What do we want to do with grayscale bitmap images? And what do we want to do with monochrome bitmap images? That is, images where every pixel is either pure black or pure white. And within each of those 3 choices, it's simply, how do we want to treat the images? Do we want to downsample or not? Now, if there's no downsampling, that way you're going to get the best quality. So that's why everything here is grayed out. But let's say you do want to downsample here, then you can choose something like, okay, if this image or an image in this document is over 225 pixels per inch, Illustrator will shrink it, will downsample it to 150 pixels per inch. And you could adjust these numbers however is best for you. Then it also allows you to choose which compression method to use. Now, zip is the default, and you're probably familiar with zip files, and this is the same compression. That is lossless compression. But if for whatever reason you do find that you need lossy compression, or maybe you have an image where JPEG is looking better, then you have several other standards of JPEG to use. So that's really all that is, just repeated 3 times. So I'm going to leave this here. Do not downsample. Now, if you have text and line art, like we have this outline of a maple leaf and we have some text, you can choose whether to compress that or not. Now, let's say you're going to create color separations. Then we'll go over here to marks and bleeds, and then you can put in trim marks, registration marks, and all that. If you're printing a color composite and you're not doing color separations, there's really not much reason to print any of these. If you have a bleed in the document, you can use the default bleed or you can change them. If color is an issue, you can change some of the color conversions here. I'm not going to discuss that in this lesson. If that's something important to you, check out my Adobe Illustrator CS6 Advanced course in the Total Training Library. I go into that in some more detail. Let's go over here to advanced, and the most important thing here is subsetting characters in your text. Now, just to make this file work easier, I used Adobe Caslon Pro here, and you probably have Adobe Caslon Pro because it comes with all of the Adobe applications. But let's say you're using some weird font. You're using Bob's handwriting font or something like that. You're only using a handful of characters. You could save some file size by subsetting, and that way telling it, okay, if the number of characters in the font is, let's say, less than 50%, then subset and use only those particular characters. I generally don't subset anything, simply because I'm afraid that, let's say somebody might need to modify the PDF and I may not be available to give them the fonts they need, so I usually just set this to 0. And if you set that to 0, it means even if you use a single character from a font and none of the other characters in the entire font will be embedded. We also have some security options here, and this is, do you want a password to open the document? Do you want a password to edit the document? Maybe you only want some people to open it. Maybe you will let everyone open it, but only some people edit it. Now, if you forget to change these settings here and you do want passwords, you could do this in Adobe Acrobat itself. You can go into the options in Adobe Acrobat. Actually, Control D or Command D on the Mac will bring you into the options. You can go and set the security. Let's go here into Summary, and in here, these are just, you can twirl these open. These are a list of all of the settings that you had previously. And if you want to save this as a text file for later or for someone else to look at, you can click Save Summary and save this as a text file. And this is just giving me a warning that I'm choosing a low-res raster effects. So this partially transparent leaf might not print so great on the PDF. But that's okay for this lesson. So I'm going to click Save PDF. And it took the name, here it is, and now in my case it opened up in Adobe Reader. On your machine maybe it opens up in Adobe Acrobat, and that's customizable on each machine. And it looks fine to me, and the transparency here on the leaf looks okay. Let me close this. Let's take a look at the file size. I'm going to go back into the Windows File Explorer, or if you're on the Mac you can go into the Finder. And you can see here that PDF is a little bit bigger than that. That might be because I chose not to subset the font. Okay, let's say you're in Windows and you want to print to PDF. And you do that by regular old print dialog box. You could press Control P, or you could go up to the File menu and down here choose Print. And I'm going to go over here and set my printer to Adobe PDF. Now to do this, you have to have Adobe Acrobat installed. And that's the full-blown Acrobat, not the free Adobe Reader. And over here you see where it says Media Size. I'm going to go in there and choose Custom. And as soon as I choose Custom, this gives me the actual size that I have here. And you notice that we have this little thumbnail, because if I don't do that, if I leave something else defined by driver or whatever, you notice that it's kind of cut off there. So let's just make sure that's custom. Now let's take a look at some of the other options here. So let's go here to Marks and Bleed, and the only reason that you would turn on any of these marks is if you're printing color separations, but I'm doing this PDF as a composite, so I'm going to ignore all of this. Output, again, I'm going to ignore all of this stuff. I'll go here into Graphics. Here's also where we can choose quality. I'm going to leave this as best quality, and as far as fonts go, now I can choose to subset. That's what we saw just before when we were saving as a PDF. I could say no, don't download any fonts, but I'm going to choose this or leave this on complete. So even though I'm using just maybe a handful of characters of Adobe Caslon Pro, I'm going to have this download the entire font in there. I'll go here into Color Management, and I'm just going to leave these as the defaults. Go here to Advanced, and I'm going to set the preset to High Resolution. And then I can go here into the Summary. And now this is telling me that, yes, I need to go and flatten some of this artwork. I'm really not going to worry about that right now. We talked about that earlier in the lesson. My prime reason for showing you this is so you can see the difference in file size. If you want to printed summary of all of this. You can save summary and you can save it as a text file. So I'm going to go here and print. And I'm going to call this tour ad printed, just so we'll see the difference between the original one here that we did by saving and this one that we're creating by printing. And then it tells me, okay, yes indeed, it's been printed. And I could bring this up again in Adobe Reader or the full-blown Adobe Acrobat and look at it. And it looks the same, maybe a little bit more rough around the edges of the leaf. But I'm going to close this. What I really want to show you is file size. So I'm going to go back into Windows Explorer and look at this. Here's the original Illustrator file, 8.5 megs. Here's the PDF that we created when doing a save as, is a little bigger. Look at this one that we just created by printing, is 289K, so much smaller. Now you might wonder, well, all right then, if I'm using Windows, why would I ever want to go and save as a PDF? And the reason is, if you want to go and edit a document later on, you'll have better chance editing it if you went and saved as a PDF. Also, if you want to make sure that your image is not compressed, is not downsampled, then also you want to go and save as PDF, because when you print, that's going to take the image and compress it a lot. In fact, here is the linked file, and this JPEG, you can see here, the JPEG alone is over 3 megs. So here's the PDF that has all of the Illustrator stuff going on, plus the image itself is only 289K. You better believe that that image is highly compressed. So if that's nothing you care about, maybe you're just creating a little sales sheet or something to post on the web and you want to keep the file size down, printing is the way to go, as opposed to quality, where doing a save as is the way to go. So feel free to test this out on your own machine and see what file sizes you get.